everyone, it's Tri-State Sax here, back with another Playing Around with Playbook this week. Today we're going to be talking to Kelly Klingen and Beth Fortune on our episode today. So let's just give them a moment to get on here. Hi, Sammy. Hi, how's it going?
It's really going well. I'm very excited for this today.
Me too, just waiting for them to get on here.
Did you tell the good people of the internet who we're interviewing today?
I was going to introduce them when they came, but in the meantime, maybe I will now.
No, you can wait. You can just tell them we have a big guest. I think you're right. We can.
Yeah, I already said we were interviewing.
Oh, you already told people.
Yes.
Are you excited for? Oh, I look tan. I do look tan. I look healthy. Trista, what have you been listening to now that we're going into break? Have you had a little time to listen to some of my records, or what have you been listening to besides my records?
Yes, I have been listening deep into the Sammy discography, but I've also been really into Train. I've been in a Train phase.
Train? Who's Train? You're going to have to be more specific for some of our audience members.
John Coltrane.
Ooh.
I've been listening to the whole Coltrane Sound album and Transition.
I love Coltrane Sound. That has 26-2, Central Park West.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Oh my gosh.
Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Did I do it?
Hi, you did it.
Okay, this old fart doesn't know how to use Instagram.
Yes, of course.
Kelly, we are breaking the internet here. Oh my gosh. People are piling into this room to see Kelly and Beth. This is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're here. You did it.
Thank you so much.
I was just going to send instructions.
Yeah, I just responded to your email. Instagram Live, not a Zoom.
I don't even know what that means. I just went to Instagram and there was a button and I was like,
Awesome.
This is amazing. Some of my favorite people here, all the way from Seattle. This is great. This is, Chris, awesome. I'm so glad you're meeting these two rock stars of the music education world.
Yes.
This is like Springsteen and Coltrane, and this. I mean, this is big.
Oh, stop!
No.
The boss, really?
I mean, I'll be the boss. I'm
You're the
super
boss.
great.
No,
with
I'm
that.
the boss.
Okay, can we be the shared boss?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just introduce you guys for those of the Playbook community that don't know yet. This is Kelly Klingen and Elizabeth Fortune. So dubbed the Beth and Kelly Show by colleagues, they're teaching soulmates who love to talk shop and laugh their asses off. They don't have all the answers, but they do have a ton of experience and are willing to ask questions and make mistakes. Kelly is the former director of concert bands and jazz at Washington Middle School, where she taught from 2008 to 2016. A graduate of Roosevelt High School and the University of Washington, she's rooted in Seattle's celebrated tradition of music education. Kelly is a frequent adjudicator at local and regional jazz festivals, including the Lionel Hampton and Reno Jazz Festivals. Kelly was named the University of Washington Alumni of the Year for her work on gender equity in jazz, and in 2018, she served on the Expanding Opportunities to Learn Jazz and After School Task Force at Jazz Lincoln Center, and is the Director of Education at Seattle Jazz Ed, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth Fortune is the director.
I told you the boss. Do you see why I said the boss? Can everyone just pause for a second? Okay, sorry.
The director of orchestras at Seattle's Ballard High School. From 2002 to 2018, she was director of orchestras and eclectic strings at Seattle's acclaimed Washington Middle School. Fortune's work has been on the forefront of national content music standards-based curriculum development, which is amazing. And she is also an authority on the inclusion of eclectic strings in the public school setting. So thank you so much, Beth and Kelly, for joining us here today. To get us started, I'm going to ask you our staple playbook question, which you might already know, and which Sammy started us off with. What have you both been listening to lately?
I have been listening to Anderson .Paak a lot recently, in the car, and that's enough. I mean, I got the West Release Christmas album.
Oh my God, yes, I love that one.
I've been listening to Martina De Silva's the album she did in her living room, which I'm like super inspired by.
Mentor.
And you know, it's the holidays, so that also means at the Klingon household that we have you know, like the Ray Conniff singers doing Christmas, which is embarrassing. It is a throwback big time. What's Beth got going on?
I'm gonna go ahead and one up you there.
Oh snap.
Okay. So this actually, you know, I am actually kind of glad we have this opportunity, Kelly, because I was actually like just about 20 minutes ago running on the treadmill, which I rented and is down in my basement. Okay.
You rented a treadmill?
Yes, because you know, the rain in Seattle and like it's cold and like otherwise I will not exercise. So I was downstairs running on the treadmill, and what I did was I went ahead and I found an 80s country playlist. Okay. Okay. So here's what I was thinking. I was like, I need to write a blog about this, but then I have this opportunity right now. So actually I don't need to write the blog. I'm just going to talk about it right now. So here's the deal. I had a moment on that treadmill downstairs because what I realized was that I get totally jazzed by music that I was listening to and grew up on in my upbringing in Montana as a kid, right? And then
Outlaw country,
80s country, yes. All those Willie Whalen and the Boys, right? Okay, so
I am an Okie from Muskogee.
And you know, there is, we'll talk later, but you know, Merle Haggard is okay. So I'm sitting there on the treadmill going, why is it that when I am listening to and playing and or singing like outlaw country or 80s country, I feel like I am actually able to be expressive, whereas in any other area of my entire musical upbringing, I have not been able to be expressive.
Okay.
Then I realized also, which was one of those middle-aged things, that I am a lot like my parents who would like dial up like 60s classic radio or whatever. So at this point, I am now like my parents who listen to oldies.
Amazing. You gotta love the oldies. So I'm very curious as we get into the Beth and Kelly dynamic already. What was the initial inspiration for the Beth and Kelly show? How did this idea come about?
Well, we were reacting to well, really what I would say is the twin pandemics. Kelly and I saw what needed to happen during the height of education being changed during COVID. We saw what needed to be happening, and we saw that it was not happening.
Yeah.
And so we decided we needed to broadcast this to the world.
Of course.
We had no idea if it would work. I was like, dude, we've actually talked for years about how we want to be jazz education pundits and how it would be friggin' hilarious if we went to educational jazz festivals and it was like Mystery Science Theater 3000 style, and it's just like the outline of our heads and us sort of clowning on the situation, and or giving like helpful tidbits as the festivals are going on. And wouldn't that be so friggin' funny? So it sort of came from that idea. It's just punditry just with us.
Yeah, of course.
I guess.
Of course. And I know, Beth, a lot of your work has been on the National Content Music Standards-based curriculum and working with NAFME. Can you speak a little bit about this process and experience?
Yes. So I've been serving NAFME in many different ways over the last decade or so, and currently I am the chair of the National Council for Orchestral Education for NAFME.
And she's like big time, y'all.
And
big deal. Coltrane in the house.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on our professional development committee and also serve as a curriculum writer for a grant that they have with Congress. And I'm writing standards-based utilizing primary sources from the Library of Congress, which is like one of the coolest experiences ever, really.
Oh, wow.
But over my period of time in serving with NAFME, I've been able to do a lot of work in providing resources to folks to help them understand and utilize the standard. Because I think NAFME realized kind of early on in the process, the standards were rolled out in 2014, but I think that they realized early on in the process here that a lot of people don't get the standards. And so I've been really lucky to have had reasons to dig in, start understanding them, and then create stuff around them. And now because of all that experience, I have lots and lots of understanding and knowledge about the standards, what they are, and what people can do to use them. And I think it's really important that people start understanding them, because I'm here to tell you that numerous states have adopted the standards, and we are, as public school educators, required to utilize these standards in our teacher evaluations.
Yeah,
so
of course.
No one them. Like,
people don't get them, but here's the deal, and I've explained this to numerous people, anyone who will ask.
Myself included, I will
say. That's right.
I don't know if you're like looking at me without looking at me. Like I know,
I'm looking at you.
I was like, Beth,
because I sat you down.
She's coming for you, please. Sammy. She's coming for you.
No, it's amazing.
It is based on the artistic process. The artistic process is what all artists do when they do their work, whether they realize it or not. And what you're doing when you're using the standards is you are empowering students to not only understand, but then go through each of those processes that actual artists do.
Yeah.
So that when they leave us, they can actually do these things themselves. And, you know, we're not saying everybody needs to become a professional musician. If you're participating in the artistic process, you're also learning how to appreciate and be a music lover.
Translation, like, we would be complete and total morons to try and to like go through our jobs thinking that all of our students were going to become professional musicians. Like, what? That's not real. How many hundreds, thousands probably, of people do I interact with yearly who say, oh, I play the trumpet? Right.
They all say that.
They all say,
I used to play the trumpet in middle school.
Right. But the point is, you don't have to we've created a system where students decide not to be in our classrooms anymore, and then that means they're done with music making. And that is not what is our job. We are really needing to set our students up so that they can be lifelong music makers.
And
and appreciators. If we're not doing that, what in the hell are we doing, folks?
Wait, so
you know?
Kelly,
well, thank you for that. It's very insightful to hear that, because like as a studying music educator, the standards are at the forefront of like what I learn, and you know, I have to know them and base like my teaching around them. So it's really interesting to hear that perspective from both of you.
Can I ask Kelly, because so Beth is talking about standards from curriculum from, comes from a different background, right? And now as you think about jazz curriculum, when you were building out what's going on, like the programs at Jazz Ed, like what were the big things, sort of what are the centering ideas for curriculum from your perspective, working in Washington Middle School and now bringing that to Jazz Ed with such a far ranging group of people? What are you thinking about what should people be thinking about when they're building curriculum in jazz?
Well, improvisation has to be centered from the beginning, which generally means getting away from written music, right? As like, you know, the guiding principle of learning, and trying to have groups be as mixed as possible, leaving space for any instrument that to join. I feel like if we're getting away from quote unquote jazz instruments as all that we offer, that's really valuable.
Yeah.
And I just try and then music making to be fun.
Yeah, I know that you're mentioning a non-traditional jazz instrument, and Sammy was mentioning this earlier. I know Sammy wanted to talk about this a little bit because I know that Beth is a violinist, a jazz violinist. Sammy,
yeah, that's how I first started thinking about it, was Beth, and her being like, "Hey, dude, we have this like really famous big band. We need to do something like this for strings," and we embarked on a pretty scary adventure that ended up being, I think, pivotal for both of us in our coaching and our careers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we're still doing it.
No, I remember Beth was even like, when I was growing up, it was like, you can't play jazz. Like you don't have an instrument, you don't have a part. The idea of like parts being flexible enough. So like, should you not be able to play in a band if you don't have written music for that ensemble, which I think is so cool about both of you are structuring, like, this is an oral music at its core. So how do you share it and pass it down that way?
And why have we changed it to be, oh, well, there is no bassoon part in jazz band, therefore you can't participate?
Yeah. And really early on, I pushed back a lot against these ideas, mostly because I felt really tied to a tradition that I loved. The big band tradition's really important to me, and I wanted my students to have that. But also, this idea that there was a program my students were going to, and if I didn't mirror what was going on at that high school, Garfield High School, that it was somehow a disservice to our students. And that one's a little harder to get around, because I think that the big band's experience can be made available, as Beth and I have shown, to a whole lot of different instruments, and for it to be really successful and equally valuable. I think it's a little stickier to get around this idea that, like, you know, we created a space for these string players to really flourish in a jazz environment, and then they went off to a high school where there wasn't a place for them.
There wasn't a place for them, and they were kind of like punished, actually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, when you go up against structures that are really, really set in stone, like the jazz education community in Seattle, really up until Kelly took the helm of Jazz Ed, honestly. But there are still very strict structures in this city, jazz-wise. You end up really like shrinking back with your tail between your legs quite often. When it comes to trying to get opportunities. We've got opportunities that are for big bands here that, you know, it's a hard stop on opening those types of things up for strings, or for, you know, different types of different configurations. So
I'll even the project we did with Ballard last year with Playbook, where that was totally, I mean, Beth, that was your idea that came to life of like, wait, what if you took like a concert band and let them play some of this material? And to your point, even about the bassoon, which everyone like a little bit, most people like laugh about. It's like, it was so cool to see French horns, tuba, all these instruments getting the chance to just feel what it's like to play inside a jazz.
Why can't these kids learn how to swing, learn this important part of the American experience, and interact with the music that will lifelong music makers? Why are we so rigid that we can't, you know?
You guys are, they're changing it. These two, I mean, really, that's,
look,
I'm sorry, Chris, to go back. I know I'm getting off,
you're good.
I'm getting off script, you know, I'm improving a little bit.
Sammy likes to pop in here. Says what he
I said I wanted to be on the show. I had to.
Well, thank you so much for talking about the structure of it, because I am wondering, Kelly, as director of education at Seattle Jazz Ed, like, how do you go about the jazz curriculum and structuring your wide array of programs to like meet different needs? Oh, thanks, Alex.
Program design is real tricky, but it is something that I'm finding out that I'm pretty good at, which is like sorting through all of the needs of various communities. What are the educational needs? You know, like what are the student outcomes that we're looking for? What are barriers, and how simplified can this course be made so that there are so a kid could really just sign up and show up as they are and be successful. And so removing auditions, we have a pay what you can sliding scale tuition model. I like to have team teachers in the classroom whenever I can budget for that. And those teachers are really allowed a lot of space to be creative and responsive to what's going on with whatever group of students shows up. I mean, those are some big things.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelly's done a really great job of bringing diversity into the teaching community, lifting up voices of folks that are often passed over or underrepresented, and I think it really makes a difference in what and how things are taught at Jazz Ed.
Thank you for that response. One of the last questions I want to ask you guys are, what are your mantras as educators when times get tough?
Oh God, I don't know. I need to find out quick.
Times are tough. Times are tough right now.
Yeah.
Okay. B, whatever mantras there are, they are being said right now.
Right. I know one that we share is kids like to do.
The kids like to do.
They like to do. I always have that in my mind. Like, if the kids aren't actively participating in it, it will not be retained and it will not be fun. So as much music making from like the moment that we enter the classroom until we leave is really important. And I also, go ahead.
I'm talking about, like, you know, the band, right? Let's take Sammy Miller and the Congregation, for instance. Awesome band, right? But it's only cool for like however long they come into your classroom and just play for the kids. The kids like to do. They don't want to just sit there. They want to make music with Sammy Miller and the Congregation. They want you as artists to enter into music and performance with kids. Um, you know, that's one of my big mantras. Get the community in, get culture bearers in, and have them be making music with you, not just telling you what to do, not just offering critique, not just
a concert that we're taking notes on.
Right. But actually entering into the making of music and learning together live time, whether it's for performance or not, the kids like to do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for that. To close us off, Sammy and I want to ask you, why do you think programs like Playbook are so important in today's classroom?
Well, it's a tool to help kids do. So there's that. Man, and especially at a time like now where, where we could be going digital again, where we might be hybrid again, where we can actually start to utilize like this digital platform, and why not broaden our community. People don't have to be in Seattle to learn from them. So like all of that's really great, but also I think the way of learning music where we're boiling it down to 4 elements, and that is for everyone to learn, I think is a value that Beth and I both really share, right? Like if you're only teaching your trombone players how to play their 3rd trombone part, they're really going to have a hard time being lifelong music makers, and they're not engaging with the artistic process. Now, if they can learn how to construct a bass line and some fundamentals of harmony, and also get to play a melody, and being able to jump in and immediately be making and creating and responding with other people, we're really setting our students up for success. And so it's a great tool for that.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for joining today. Everyone keep up with Beth and Kelly on Facebook at the Beth and Kelly Show, and watch their recorded season of their episodes. And
go to my episode.
It's also a podcast, y'all.
The podcast is amazing.
Star on one.
I recommend people who are running on treadmills, whether they're rented or they're at the gym or anywhere.
That's right.
But it's a great show. But I'll just say that these two are like some of the most inspiring educators I've ever met, and I love that they are so themselves. Like there's not like teacher Beth and then like normal Beth or whatever. Like they really bring themselves to their students, and it's infectious, and that's the kind of educator I want to be. So thank you guys both. So
thank you. Well, that's the kind of educator you are.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today, and you can also keep up with Kelly at the Seattle Jazz at Instagram as well. So everyone watching, you can keep up with the Playbook at the Playbook Jazz Instagram. It's the same link for our Facebook and Twitter as well. And check us out at thisisplaybook.com, and we'll be back next week with another playing around with Playbook next Thursday. So thank you, everyone. I'm gonna log off now.
Fun. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.